animals, الدم, blood, لحم الخنزير, swine meat. And today we'll talk about the human being, what is that filthy in him. So, قيء الآدمي ورجيعه نجس. Whatever you throw up and vomit after you had processed it in your digestion system, it went back, then that's considered najis. إلا أنه يعفى عن يسير القيء. But if it was little bit, that came out and it touched, of course, some people have acid reflux, some people have GERD, whatever it is. You only need to wash your mouth, madmada, and it should be fine. It does not, to some scholars, that will break your wudu. We'll talk about this when we reach wudu. But to other scholars, it does not break your wudu. So to those who does not break their wudu, just gargling some water will clean whatever is considered najas that you have vomited. If it was little bit, then it should be fine. Or even if it fell on your clothes or in your hand, it's little bit, it should be okay. Now from your private part, the water that comes out is 4 types. It is either urine, al-bawl, it is either al-wadi, which is the thick type of fluid, or al-madhi, the soft, type of fluid, or al-madhi, wal-wadi, wal-mani, wal-bawl. So these are the urine, the 4 types. We're going to talk about each one separately, inshallah. When it comes to urine, any type of urine that comes from any human being is considered what? Filthy and najis. But if someone was urinating in public, like he was in a picnic area and he was on the top of a mountain and he had to release himself, and you urinate, always try, although the Prophet did urinate ﷺ standing and he did it sitting down. Sitting down is better because it's not going to splash and come back on your clothes. But if someone is kind of knowing that it's not coming back, to the best of your knowledge, that should be fine. Unless you see the wetness of the urine on your clothes, that's when you know, okay, this is needs to be washed. But in general, if there is nothing shown, and if it was in a very small amount, you don't have to worry about that. What is excluded from that, ويخفف في بول الصبي الذي لم يأكل الطعام فيكتفى في تطهيره بالرش لحديث أم قيس رضي الله عنها أنها أتت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بابن لها لم يبلغ أن يأكل الطعام بعد وأن ابنها ذاك بال في حجر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فدعا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بماء فنضحه ولم يغسله غسلا. If a baby boy who is still suckling milk from his mother, he did not eat food yet, if you are holding him, if you're carrying him, and he wet himself, and some of that wet came on your clothes, you don't have to take off your shirt and wash it. That's exactly what happened with the Prophet ﷺ. He just ordered some water to come, and he took from his hand and he made it wet on the place that he felt the urine of that boy came on his shirt. As long as he did not start eating food. The moment that he eats food, then you have to what? You have to wash it. Khalas. Like biologically something happens. Also, if it is a baby girl, from the moment she is born, and if she wet herself on you, then you have to wash. You cannot just, it's only for the boy. Why the Prophet did that, ﷺ? Maybe it has to do with the biological way of a woman is when she grows older, she has the menstrual period, all that stuff. Maybe that's relevant, we don't know. but we follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ta'abbudan, as an act of worship. This is how he told us to do it, so we do it. Some people might come and say scientifically this, scientifically that, عراسنا وعيننا. Bas nahna we follow the sunnah as it came from the Prophet alayhi as-salatu was-salam. Actually, there's another hadith. Imam Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, بول الغلام ينضح عليه وبول الجارية يغسل. The urine of a baby boy could be, just like wetted and it should be fine. But the urine of a baby girl, it should be completely washed in that. طيب. المذي وهو ماء أبيض لزج يخرج عند التفكير في الجماع أو عند الملاعبة وقد لا يشعر الإنسان بخروجه ويكون من الرجل والمرأة إلا أنه من المرأة أكثر وهو نجس باتفاق العلماء. The madhi is the type of fluid that comes or discharged from the male or the female when someone is thinking intimately in a sexual thought. And it is in females more than it is in males. And this fluid is considered najis. And it does break your wudu. And it has to be washed. If it was on your clothes, or if it was on your private part, you have to what? Either to change. Or you were going to see that you can also wet, the clothes. We're going to see in a second. إلا أنه إذا أصاب البدن وجب غسله وإذا أصاب الثوب اكتفي فيه بالرش بالماء قال العلماء لأن هذه نجاسة يشق الاحتراز عنها لكثرة ما يصيب ثياب الناس خصوصا الشباب العزب. It is permissible to some scholars that you don't have to take your underwear and wash it if it had some of that fluid on it, but you can throw and sprinkle some water drops on it and you make it wet with that and it should be fine. Actually, there's a hadith. Imam Ali came and said, كنت رجلا مذاء. I used to have that issue, the fluid discharge of that type when I think intimately. فأمرت رجلا أن يسأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لمكان ابنته. I asked a person to ask the Prophet because I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm married to his daughter and it's not proper. So the Prophet told that person, توضأ واغسل ذكرك. Make wudu and wash your private area. So it does break your wudu and it has to be what? And it has to be cleaned. Al-wadi is the same type of fluid, but it doesn't come soft, kind of, slippery. It comes in thick. And this happens if someone is away from his family for a long time, he hadn't had an intercourse. It seems the same type of fluid just gets thick, most likely. وهو ماء أبيض ثخين يخرج بعد البول. Sometimes it goes in chunks, like after you urinate. It's also najis, it's considered filthy. And the same ruling, like the madhi, it has to be made of wudu and what? And if it falls on your clothes, it's okay to put some water drops on it, or it's better to what? To wash it. Al-mani, the last one, is the semen, which, the essence of the human DNA that, goes from one generation to another. Some scholars say it is najis, but the most say no, it's tahir. They said the origin of human beings cannot be of something filthy. It has to be tahir. And for the hadith that we studied in the beginning, al-mu'minu tahirun la yanjas, that the human being in original, it is what? It is tahir. But if someone had a wet dream and the semen came out on his underwear, or if someone had an intercourse and some of it is still on his clothes, you can wash it, you can put water on it and just make it wet. And if it dried, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha used to say, كنت أفرك المني من ثوب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا كان يابسا وأغسله إذا كان رطبا. If it was dry, I will just, rub the clothes over each other and then the thing will just drop and be away. Ibn Abbas was narrated to him, it said that the Prophet ﷺ was Al-Hadith, this is da'if, but something that we can look at. The Prophet said, إِنَّمَا هُوَ بِمَنْزِلَةِ الْمُخَاطِ وَالْبُصَاقِ. The semen that's coming out from you, it's like, saliva or things that come from your nose. So he compared it to something tahir. He compared it to something not filthy. And then he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِنَّمَا يَكْفِيكَ أَن تَمْسَحَهُ بِخِرْقَةٍ. It is enough just to wipe it with like a piece of cloth or napkin or something like that. What about بَوْلُ وَرَوْثُ مَا لَا يُؤْكَلُ لَحْمُهُ? The urine and the poop of anything that you cannot eat, like beasts, carnivores, najisan, they are filthy. So the urine of the dog, the poop of the dog, the urine of the cat, the poop of the cat, the urine of a lion, all these carnivores, all these beasts, the urine and the poop is also considered najis. And يُعْفَى عَنِ الْيَسِيرِ مِنْهُ, if something is like in small amount, then it is okay, they say the scholars. What about, things like, things that you eat from, like the urine of a cow, the poop of the cow, of a sheep? To most scholars, it is tahir, it's not najis. The waste of anything that you consume and eat, because we only eat animals that feed on grass. So it seems the animals that feed on meat produce urine and poop that is najis. The animals that feed on grass produce urine and poop that is what? Tahir. To some scholars, it's still what? Najis. So better if you have access to water, just what? To wash it. What about wine or intoxicants? Is it tahir or najis? What do you think? Najis. Most scholars say it's not najis, it's tahir. Because the origin of it is what? It's all food. I mean, if it was Japanese sake, it's from rice. If it was beer, it's from barley. If it was regular wine, it's from grapes. Or if it's from dates. The origin is tahir, so the product outside is what? It's still tahir. And the filthiness of najasa is ma'nawiyya, that it is haram, it is intoxicating. But if you're sitting in a plane next to someone who is drinking a can of beer, and he popped the can of beer and some of that came on, don't go fight him. No, it's okay. No, just take a napkin and wipe it and you should be all fine. It is tahir, it will not make you filthy in that. Of course, the reference when Allah said, إنما الخمر والميسر والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان, it is not rich like filthy as physical filthiness. It is non-physical filthiness, that it is haram to do that. Of course, the urine, the poop of the dog is what? Is also considered najis. وصلى الله وبارك على سيدنا محمد.